Good morning, gardening friends, and I invite you into my garden here in the Rocky Mountains today. I wanted to share with you my reasons for loving gardening, and I have 7 of them that I'm going to tell you about. They are really important to me, and during the winter, we kind of start hibernating indoors, especially when you're living in a cold climate. But today we're going to talk about the spring, the summer, and the fall seasons that can be enjoyed outdoors. So let's start with number 1, and that is gardening is good for your health. I would love to tell you about how hard I work outside in the spring and throughout the summer as I prepare my garden for this season. And that hard work is so fantastic. I have even found that as I get older, and we all will get older, it actually hauling large bags of organic cow manure and mulch and digging and struggling with your sprinkler system like we have to have out here where it's so dry. All of those chores make it possible for you to build stronger muscles and bone mass. It's really great for building bone mass, carrying heavy things, hauling plants back and forth, transplanting plants, all of those things make it possible for you to have better health. And best of all, your body soaks up vitamin D. And you probably know that vitamin D is an essential vitamin, and when your body produces it itself out in the sun, that is the way it can be used the most effectively by your body for bone mass and just overall health. And I have even heard, I'm not sure if this is true, so don't quote me, I have even heard that vitamin D is very good for fighting the COVID-19 virus. Number 2 is giving back to God's creation. You can take a plain Jane backyard in suburbia, just with grass, like you can see in this picture here, just solid grass. And here's another photo. These are pictures of my lawn or my backyard when I first moved into my house. And you can see it was just a sea of grass, and I had some, what are they called, junipers across the back of my yard, and a few trees were planted, which I'm thankful for. But mostly it was just a lawn. And here's a picture, one sample of how I have transformed it, I think, into a very beautiful space that I enjoy with my friends and family. Number 3, I love gardening because it connects me with nature. I love being outdoors and observing the birds that come to my yard, the butterflies, caterpillars, and I'm gonna share with you some of the things that I've seen in my yard here. But I also see many pollinators that contribute to, the overall welfare of our world and of nature. Making sure that you're providing a space for yourself, but also for all of God's creatures. So enjoy nature. Number 4, gardening is a great de-stressor. It allows you to have a space in which you can retreat. You can sit outdoors and have your morning coffee or an evening adult beverage, like a glass of wine. It allows you to just sit and read in a peaceful space and calm yourself down. I even find Some of you may laugh at this, but I even find that when I am out weeding as the summer progresses and weeds are growing in the garden, I find that going out and digging up weeds after a good rain is a wonderful way to de-stress. It allows me to feel sort of cathartic, that you're purifying your space, you're making it beautiful again, and it just calms my spirit. Number 5 is creativity. I love the creativity of gardening. And I don't consider myself creative really at all, and I certainly am not artistic. I can't draw or paint. And you might even think, oh, I can't be creative with a garden because I have a black thumb. I've had so many friends tell me that. And in fact, that's why I started this YouTube channel, because I would have friends come over and say to me, Mary, how do you get things to grow in our climate here and have such a beautiful garden? And I always say it just takes time. You have to be willing to spend time watching videos, doing research, subscribing to some gardening magazines, and kind of educating yourself and learning over time about plants and how they grow. And that's all part of that creativity. You get to choose what colors of flowers or foliage you would like to enjoy in your garden. You get to place things specifically in patterns or styles of gardening that please you. So think about that as a way to really let your creativity out and do something different with it. If you feel like, oh, I can't do that, really you can, because you would be surprised how tough plants actually are and how much they want to live and grow. So even when you make mistakes, it's all right, because we all do in our gardening. We have failures, but that's part of our learning process, and that creativity of how I place my plants, how I get that specific style of garden, that look that I'm going for, or that pleases you, as I said earlier. Number 6 is that I have found gardening helps me build new friendships. Now, I have started friendships with neighbors who've walked by my yard and said, oh, this is a beautiful yard. How do you do it? And you invite them in and give them a tour and tell them, they're welcome back, and be very, very hospitable. And you have the start of a new friendship. But I can tell you that there are gardening organizations in your town, every town has them, where you can meet fellow gardeners and make new friends and share your experiences in your zone, your climate, about what works in a garden where you live, what doesn't work. So it helps with that learning process for your creativity, but it also engenders those friendships and finding people who are, have that same kinship for gardening and love of plants that you have. So, for example, I joined a group in my town that hosts a garden tour every spring or summer, depending on, the gardens that we enlist to be part of our tour. But garden tours are fantastic and wonderful ways to meet people, but also being part of that group that creates a garden tour or a garden club. All of these are ways to make new friends. Lastly, number 7, gardening is good for the mind. I feel like with gardening, I have learned to be more patient. It helps me with anxiety or stress because I have my mind focused on something really beautiful and not on, my troubles. So it really relieves anxiety. And I find, like I said, that patience is really something that grows with gardening. And I'll tell you why. In gardening, when you plant a small plant or a tiny seed, and you're waiting and waiting for that plant to grow and maybe to flower, and you learn plants don't grow that fast. I must be very, very patient. But oh my goodness, the rewards are wonderful. Sometimes those rewards take 2 or 3 years, depending on the plant. You may know by now, if you have invested time in gardening, that perennials, for example, normally don't bloom the first season. You plant a perennial, it really gets its roots settled the first year. The second year, it puts on more growth, and you might see a bud or two, and we're talking perennial flowers here. And by the third year, it's in its full glory, large with many blooms, and you get to enjoy them. So that's a 3-year waiting period that can be a little bit difficult for some people, but it is so good for your spirit to learn to be patient and to really get joy from the final result in your garden. Now that we've covered my reasons for loving gardening, I would really enjoy hearing from you about why you love gardening or why you're thinking about getting into gardening as a hobby. Please go ahead and comment down below my video and let me know. I would love to hear from each and every one of you about your feelings of gardening as a hobby and a restful or maybe exciting hobby for yourself. So go ahead and let me know. I really cannot wait to hear from you all.